When I first got the script, I was expecting your traditional action movie with your traditional guy being the total hero of the whole thing, and I'm just sort of along for the ride. When I read Greenland, I really liked that there was a heart to the story, that it was a couple with problems, that it was real, that Allison was just as much a part of being involved in creating the safety for her child and, you know, emotionally invested in this relationship and in what was happening. And I felt like it was such a strong family nucleus, even though they were having their issues, that I really was compelled to tell the story. When the movie starts, Allison is pretty pissed at John. I think she's trying, for the sake of their child more than anything else, to hold it together and to give him another chance. I don't think she's there yet. I don't think she's ready. I think she's still angry and resentful. You know, we created this story that he cheated on her, but you know, it's two people in a marriage, and he just wasn't dealing with whatever the issue was that they were having, and obviously did something terrible, but she also was not connected to him, and you know, the way we kind of made it up for ourselves was, you know, she was very unavailable and emotionally kind of detached, and it created a big rift between them. And it was really great to, you know, start a movie in a place where you're not sure that things are going to work out. And it gives you somewhere to go in the end, and I thought that was really exciting. In the first scene of the movie, Allison is running very fast on a treadmill that goes nowhere. So that should give you some clues. I think she's very, very driven and very ambitious. She wanted to create the perfect family, and I think that's something that I relate to very much as a woman, is you want to be the perfect mom and the perfect wife and the perfect everything, and it's impossible. And I think she painted herself in a corner in that way, but I think she's just working out her demons, and I think she's somebody who goes hard. You know, she really fights for what she believes, fights for her family, fights for her kid. She's incredibly strong and willful and confident, but she's a little bit broken when you see her in the beginning because she's been through so much. But she's really trying to kind of, you know, patch over those cracks and not let them show, and pretend that everything is going to be okay, even though that's not what she's feeling right now. Yeah, she's perfectly suited for an end of the world disaster. Yeah, Allison, you know, I think getting your kid taken away from you is probably the worst thing that could happen to a mom. And that's exactly what happens in the movie. And she, you know, though perfectly equipped to deal with stress and, you know, somebody who does not flee at the sight of danger, that is a complete and utter vulnerability that hits her really hard. And I'm yet to shoot that scene. I'm really, really, really not looking forward to it because it's a place emotionally that I'm going to have to get to that I really don't want to get to. But speaking about Allison, I think she's, you know, thank goodness she is who she is, and she's a fighter, and she just is going to do whatever it takes to get her kid back. She's going to run down that highway. She's going to find where they are. She's going to figure it out, and she's not going to give up until she does. And I think that journey, that falling that she's had to do emotionally, helps also her reconnect with John in the end. You know, it's very easy to blame other people for everything that's going on, and I think in that moment she realizes how fragile everything is, and that you just have to kind of own up to your own stuff. You know, I think we got lucky. I think the Garrity's got incredibly lucky. I mean, obviously John is an engineer and has that ability to offer, but I think it's more about, you know, some people didn't, and we see all of our neighbors not getting chosen, and it's a incredibly harrowing scene that we had to shoot, where you're leaving people behind and you want to take everybody with you, but you realize it's not going to work and there's nothing you can do. And I think Allison feels very guilty about that, and it's a tough part of the movie to even understand, you know, like, why us? But I think that's a question that is throughout the movie in many different ways. Why us? Why is this happening? Why is the world ending? Why are we in this point that we are now? And how do we build ourselves back together? Yeah, I think the themes of the movie are very, very powerful. I mean, the obvious ones like humanity and family, you know, there are so many great people in this movie that help each other out, just as there are many terrible people who are taking advantage of a vulnerable situation. But I think ultimately the movie is positive, and the rebirth of, you know, the human race is going to happen, and we are going to um, survive in the face of this incredible peril. And you know, it does make you think about your life a lot, and make you think about what would happen if this actually happened to us. And it doesn't seem that far off. I mean, it doesn't seem that crazy. That's what's so scary about it. And it's also what drew me to the movie. Is it's an action movie. It's fun to watch. It's harrowing. It's terrifying, but it's very real. It is something that is very palpable and plausible. I think she's running on adrenaline, but I do think it's also who she is. It's a combination of both. It's survival mode 100%. What else is she going to do, sit in a corner and cry? But I think that it takes somebody not being a victim and not being a martyr and just, you know, focusing on the task at hand. And that's something that her and John have in common. And when they, you know, start on this journey together, you can see that they're very much not together, and they're fighting about it and bickering and arguing. And then it kind of like dawns on them, you know, as all these tragedies start to happen, it becomes very real that what's more important is the unity of the family.
Yeah.
I keep joking that if it hadn't been for this comment, who knows if they would survive, this marriage would survive. So in a way, it's a good thing. But I think that, you know, I think that she starts to see John step up as a man, step up as the member, as the man of the family, and that's what she's been needing him to do. I think he also shows a vulnerability that he had trouble with before, and she sees that, and all of these things kind of layer towards the forgiveness. She sees him; he's apologetic about it, and he knows that he messed up, but he also, you know, he's taking ownership of his flaws and wanting her to do the same, and it takes two people to kind of meet there in the middle. And I think, isn't there a Camila Cabello song about this, Meet Me in the Middle? But that's exactly what a marriage is, and that's what you need in order to move forward. And I think it happens in a couple of pivotal moments in the movie, and being with my father, with Dale, helps solidify that as well, because she kind of sticks up for her husband in a moment where you wouldn't expect her to, and I think it makes her realize that there's still love there. I didn't really expect, it kind of caught me off guard, the relationship with my father actually in this movie, because I thought, you know, he's kind of a hard man. He's definitely somebody who's stubborn and willful, and he's got his guns and his farm, and, you know, a little bit emotionally disconnected, I guess, but you could tell he loves his girl, you know, and that she's very much daddy's girl. And that was really nice to have that anchor in the movie. When she loses her kid and finds him again and reconnects with her husband, and all of that happens at the farm or close to the farm, to home, to what was home. And I think that's very, very powerful. And seeing her father in that moment, I think, is what makes her be able to let her guard down. And you don't see her doing that much in the movie, where she just kind of loses it and is able to feel that intense vulnerability and pain. Otherwise, I think she, you know, she would fall apart if it hadn't been in that moment. Dale's a great character. You know, I've had this. I don't know if this is what what Scott Glenn was thinking about when he was playing the part, but you know, I always assumed that my mom was kind of like the lighter presence in the family, and that he was much more obviously the patriarch, but like a little harsher, a little more brusque and rough. Yeah, but then she passes away, and I think that softens him up a bit. And I think that, you know, his girl also softens him up, his daughter. But I love that he's just sitting there playing poker at the face of the end of the world, because I think he believes there's nothing he can do. He doesn't care. He's lived his life. He's gonna go down with his gun in his hand, in his comfort zone, where he feels like he's the king of the domain, and he's not going to be running away from some major disaster. You know, a lot of the stuff that I have to do is much more emotional and heart driven. And, you know, he's great at like sussing that out. Ric can, you know, can see, you know, when we get to a scene that is very emotionally important, that drives the story forward and the connection to the audience. He, you know, he's the first to say, okay, this scene, we really need to hit these moments. This is what it's about, and we'll talk it through. And as you've seen on set, there's not much rehearsing going on. And I kind of love that because the mistakes are in the movie, and it's very human, and it's very frantic, and it's very like, you know, just what it feels like, what it would feel like if you're actually doing these scenes in the face of a disaster. So, you know, as far as the stunts go, I think he's wonderful at that aspect of it. But he's also great at just knowing the beats that need to be hit emotionally. I do appreciate the process. There have been times where I've been frustrated because I don't know, literally don't know where I should be standing, how to find the lens, where's the camera, how many cameras are on me, what size are we doing, what, you know, there's so much of that that I have no clue. You know, there are times where I do need to know that stuff because it'll be more efficient if I'm able to be on camera as opposed to searching for it. But I quite like that there isn't a hard mark, that we have the flexibility to, you know, we're working with a kid, to check on him, to look down, to be down, then up, then look around, then, you know, something falls, you use it in the scene, you grab it again. You know, it's very, very real, very human, and I really love that as well. Mm-hmm. You know, that's a tough part for a young actor to play. It's really emotionally driven, and most of the time I feel really terrible that we're having to like torture this poor kid into feeling all these horrible things and crying all the time. And but yeah, I mean, Nathan symbolizes so much for this couple. You know, the hope, where they've been, how far they've come, and it is the ultimate driving force between, you know, getting these people to safety. I mean, if you just have two adults they're just, in a way, I think it would appear selfish. But because there's a kid involved and the future is really his, it symbolizes so much more in the film. And it's, you know, it's become this sort of like a part of me. You know, I always have my hand on him. I'm always looking to see what we're doing. Is he's safe? What's happening? It gives you this sort of like ultimate purpose in the movie that's really powerful. My thoughts about Jerry. You know, I really didn't know what to expect. I've only seen him acting. We didn't know each other before this movie, and he's obviously an incredible professional and does what he does really, really well. And I love watching him like just running or doing the most mundane stunts and things. He makes everything seem so like a real person doing them. You know, the other person that I love is Harrison Ford doing that stuff. Like, and that's a skill because I look terrible doing stuff like that. But it's been I've learned a lot watching him, the physicality and how he really gets into the moments and the roles. And he's just been so much fun. I mean, we have a lot of time to kill sitting in cars. All of our scenes are either running or sitting in a car driving. So in between setups, we often sit and just kind of pour our souls out to each other. I know a lot about him, and he knows a lot about me because there's a lot of downtime. But like whatever footage was, whenever the cameras are running or whatever was like we should have been like on the behind the scenes in the car, because I've taken some videos. It's been really fun. We have a good time just chatting. He's become a real pal. You know, ultimately, I want them to walk out of the theater and have had a great time watching a movie, because what we do for a living ultimately should be fun. I think also, though, there is a greater message, which is, you know, we can do anything together, and it's a really nice family moment, and positive, and, you know, gives hope, I think, for a community and that kind of togetherness, and I think that's really, really sweet. What would be my plan? You know, this movie has made me realize I'm very ill-prepared for a disaster. What would be my plan? Obviously, safety. Where is safe? Getting to safety, getting my family together, just doing whatever it took. And then if I couldn't reach it, it would just be to try to spend the last few moments together as much as possible. That sounds terrible. I just made myself really upset.
I know.